Well, hello and welcome. My name is Mark Epner. I'm a Chicago-based pilot with over half of my 2,000 plus hours in a Cirrus SR-22. Currently, I fly this 2011 normally aspirated G3, but also fly other aircraft when the opportunity presents itself. I love flying every bit as much as you do and look for ways to share that common bond through multiple paths, including this channel, as well as Simple Flight Radio, which you can find at simpleflight.net. My goal for the channel is to share my passion for aviation with others that share that same sentiment and do so with an eye towards proficiency, safety, and fun.
I don't know if you can see it right up there. We're heading toward O'Hare. We're going to go right over the top of O'Hare Airport. 20 feet to go. 6,000 target altitude reach.
Number 30 Delta, flighting 160.
160, 30 Delta. Turn this to 160. You can see the city up there, I think, hopefully.
Best 1194.
There's a little bit of haze below us, but you see some buildings sticking out of the haze. And again, this is O'Hare coming right up here.
Number 30 Delta, traffic is at your 10 o'clock, 5 miles westbound Airbus 7000.
Inside 30 Delta.
Roger.
And approach capacity 1194. We're going to go to Sonoy and do the approach.
And here's O'Hare right there.
We can cancel with you now, or leave flight following now and contact Waukegan.
Professional 1194, Roger. Register is terminated. You could spark via far if student approved. Have a good day.
Thanks very much. Bye.
2290, contact Chicago Center 120.12.
All right, 2012, United 2290, good day.
I think it is so cool to fly over O'Hare.
That's Midway straight ahead up there too. It's been a little while since I made a video. January was pretty tough from multiple perspectives. One, the weather in Chicago absolutely sucked. Low visibility, fog, freezing temperatures down near 0 and below. And that was Fahrenheit. Additionally, I had some travel, and when I was traveling, I came back with a little bit of the COVID bug. So here we are now in February. I've flown the last 3 days. This is kind of nice. Friday, February 2nd,
Number 404 Bravo Charlie.
I was asked to help a friend pick him up after he dropped his plane off for maintenance in Muncie, Indiana. Then yesterday, Saturday, a buddy of mine dropped his plane off for annual up in Watertown, Wisconsin. So I went and picked him up, and then today I've got a buddy dropping off his plane in Fort Wayne, Indiana, so I'm going to go pick him up. Well, great missions, and I know all of them would drop me off at a moment's notice, would pick me up. But I decided, even though I've had some really wonderful IFR approaches the last couple days, using the anti-ice system I want to do a video on, today's probably the most benign, but I thought there is something that I do want to talk about. And that's 3 items that I feel are either old wives' tales or for whatever reason, people just continue to get wrong. Obviously, there's a huge number of pilots I don't talk to that have all the right information, so I don't want to make this a blanket statement. But the 3 areas are as follows. First of all, I have heard so many people over the years say that to be legal, airplanes' fuel tanks only have to be accurate when it's empty. That is an inaccurate statement.
Number 315 Golf Tango, contact opposite approach on 125.75.
Waiting for the radio to...
12575, 315 Golf Tango.
That's going to be my next one too, 12575, because I'm following him. Anyway, so with the fuel tanks, what the FAA requires is that the fuel tanks be accurate for usable fuel. let's say you're flying somewhere in a Piper Archer and you have 50 gallons of fuel in the tanks, only 48 of them
Rock band 767
are usable.
Gonna maintain.
So when you have only 2 gallons left,
Rock band 767.
your airplane, to be legal, should show 0, because it should be calibrated in level flight or level position to usable fuel. That's all it's referencing. You look at Part 23 and parts of Part 91, you have to have an operating fuel gauge that has to be accurate. So it's not just that while empty, it needs to make sure that it is aligned with usable fuel, not unusable fuel. So that's number one. Number two is the idea of an alternate. When you're flying instrument, there are certain rules at which point you have to have an alternate airport. Like if it's going to be instrument meteorological conditions with an hour forecast between an hour before and an hour after your arrival time at an airport. So you're supposed to have an alternate. So what a lot of people and pilots assume is that, well, that's my alternate. Should I not be able to land at my intended destination for whatever reason, that I would then go to my alternate? That is not true. There's a difference between an alternate and a diversionary airport.
Romeo Tango leveling 240 Copa.
The main reason for an alternate is if you lose your radio communications. Because then what should ATC, Air Traffic Control, anticipate you're going to do if you aren't in communication? And oh, by the way, when you're talking to Air Traffic Control, they don't get your complete flight plans. So if you're traveling along, you lose your radio, guess what? The people on the end of the radar scope, they don't have what your alternate is. They just know where you're heading and the basic stuff. So it's not like they can look. And most air traffic controllers that I've talked to want you out of the system if you lose your radio. So if it's VMC, they would love for you to get out of the IFR system, whether it's land and call in and cancel, squawk VFR if once you get to VMC, and land as soon as practicable and all of that. But your alternate is essentially if you lose radar contact or radios, and we call that NORDO, lost comms. Now, should you be in contact with ATC and the airport that you want to go to is closed or the weather comes in, you can certainly go to your alternate, and for good reason you probably selected it, so it may be the right airport, but you're just not limited to that. Matter of fact, you'll probably hear from ATC once you said, I can't land at my intended airport, they're going to say intentions.
Number 404 Bravo Charlie, contact Chicago approach.
And at that point, I would just tell them what airport I would like to land at instead. It doesn't have to be my alternate. So that's number two. Number three, when you look at an instrument approach chart, they show a decision altitude, a decision height, a minimum descent altitude. Those are not ceilings. So when people say, oh, they're reporting 202 miles, the 200 is not controlling.
610 Romeo Tango, turn 15 degrees.
The only thing required for you to make an instrument approach is you can leave the MDA, decision height, decision altitude,
610 Romeo Tango, descend to maintain,
whichever it is at that point. You can descend below it only if you have required flight visibility. And on you as the pilot have to determine that. Now that's a slippery slope because you can say you have it when you don't and cheat, and that leads to people killing themselves and hurting people, and that you're not allowed to do that.
Number 610 Romeo Tango, traffic at
but the key thing is here is that there are no required or minimum ceilings that are on an approach chart or that you have to comply with. When you reach the minimum descent altitude, your decision height,
United 1306.
If you have the required visibility, regardless of what the ceiling is being reported, you can continue.
Cessna 750.
And they call that the flight visibility is what's controlling, not the ceiling. So hopefully that's clear. Sorry to get picky on a little.
610 Romeo Tango. Roger.
Or a few pet peeves, but I just want to make sure we set the record straight. Well, I'm 110 miles from my destination, which will take us 41 minutes. We're now down to 160 ground speed, even though we're truing out at 171, 172, because of 13-knot headwind we have right here. Come over here and range in so we can make some sense. No traffic conflicting. And this guy right there is the one I'm chasing. And he is about 33 miles ahead of me.
So that's it. I hope you found today's video of value, either that you learned something new, it confirmed something for you, or you're going to tell me I'm all wet. Regardless, I'm glad you joined us. And of course, until next time, blue skies and tailwinds.